The world depends on insect pollinators. These insects are essential to life, supporting everything from wildflowers to crops. However, pollinators are in trouble. Populations are falling fast. The European Green Deal, the EU's biodiversity strategy for 2030, and revised EU Pollinators Initiative all agree we need urgent action. One of the leading causes of this decline is the use of plant protection products, also known as pesticides. But before we can make real progress, we need to fix the gaps in knowledge and the outdated way we assess the risks of pesticides. Risk assessment has mainly focused on honeybees, representing one large functional group of insects, the pollinators. However, honeybees do not necessarily share the same biological and ecological traits as other insect pollinator species. These limitations have led to the creation of PollinERA, a research project addressing how pesticide risks are evaluated for insect pollinators. Over 4 years, 12 partners across 8 European countries will work together to assess the risks and impacts of pesticides by looking at their effects on different insect pollinators, not just individual pesticides on honeybees, and by considering the bigger ecological picture.
We intend to increase our understanding how the ecosystems respond to the application of pesticides.
To achieve its ambitious goals, PollinERA has set 4 specific objectives. Our first objective is to fill ecotoxicological data gaps so we can better predict how pesticides affect selected species, representing different pollinator groups, such as wild bees, butterflies, moths, and hoverflies. Secondly, we aim to develop and test a pesticide and pollinator co-monitoring scheme across European cropping systems and landscapes.
We want to use it to develop pollinator-specific risk indicators for pesticides that will be a monitoring tool that we can follow pesticide risk specifically for pollinators.
Our third objective is to develop models to predict how different pesticides affect insect pollinators and improve models that track how pesticides behave inside organisms and how they affect populations over time.
All these models can be used to group the molecules, to predict the toxicity and fill the data gap, and they will be used for the environmental risk assessment.
Lastly, we will build a population-level, systems-based approach to risk and policy assessment, one that includes multiple stressors and the long-term changes at a landscape scale, and that generates an open database for pollinator and pesticide data and tools. All 4 objectives will lead to the overall implementation of the One System framework for risk assessment and policy evaluation. It will include an international long-term monitoring scheme for pollinators and pesticides. The framework builds on the FSA-funded PollinERA roadmap for action on the era of chemicals for insect pollinators. It will expand the ERA tools for honeybees to include wild bees, butterflies, moths, and hoverflies.
What we're really aiming to do in PollinERA is to find a new way to do risk assessment which is taking account of the real-world complexities and the ecological context that the animals find themselves in. So we want to make a much more realistic risk assessment, but we also want to make it simpler and more useful.
The goal is clear. We want to reverse pollinator population declines and reduce the harmful impacts of pesticides.